Hello everyone, very warm greeting to all of you. I hope you all are healthy and learning well at e-learning platforms. Students, today we have topic from geography, earth resources. Students, in this chapter we will discuss about different kind of resources. Can you tell me first, students, what are resources? Students, as we have chapter of earth resources, it means whatever resources that we use to satisfy our need called a resources, and it should be found over the earth. Either it is in atmosphere, the air is there, lithosphere, so land is there, and when we talk about hydrosphere, it means water is there. Students, these all are our resources. Students, at first we will discuss about land resources. Students, what does it mean? Land sometimes refers to as dry land is the solid surface of the earth that is not permanently covered by water. Students, the vast majority of human activity occurs in land areas only that support agriculture, habitat, and various natural resources. Students, land covers about 30% of total area of the earth's surface. Students, students, earth's 90% of life inhabits only about 30% of all the land available to us. Why? This is because landforms and climate vary, which causes the use of land to vary as well and make it usable or unusable. Students, how do we use land? If we have to represent it, all land use on a map of the world in terms of continental areas, it would look something like this map only. Students, several factors influence land use. These include physical topography, soil, climate, minerals, and of course, students, can you tell me the availability of water? Human factors such as population and technology play a large role as well. Students, land is used for different purposes such as cultivation of crops, forestry, grazing livestock, construction of buildings, houses, canals, and for mining and manufacturing. This different uses is referred to as land use. Students, what is the problem with the way we use land? Students, the population of world is growing at an alarming rate, but the amount of land available to us is the same as it was, say, 100 years ago. Students, the problem we are misusing land. Students, more land is required for ever increasing residential and commercial purposes. Also, more land is needed to produce food and setting up food related allied industries for the booming population. Students, also use of chemicals like weedicides in agriculture harm life forms that they are not meant to be harmed. Students, these are activities done by humans only which harms the land use. You can see this picture like how human activities harm the land surface. There are no forest areas due to these activities. In this picture, also you can see like overgrazing, landsliding. Such incidents just destroyed the land resource. Students, the only solution to save the land, it means we have to follow some conservation process. Students, can you tell me some solution? How can we conserve the land? Students, the first and the biggest one is afforestation. Students, this is the planting of trees with the aim of creating a forest cover to protect the soil and creating a habitat. Students, some sustainable agricultural practices also need to be followed for conserve lands, like intercropping. When you grow two or more crops next to each other at the same time, it is called intercropping. Students, it helps make use of nutrients that would otherwise not to be used by a single crop. Students, next one is terrace farming. This is a type of farming that consists of different steps or terrace cut into the slopes of hills or mountains. On each level, various crops are planted. When it rains, the nutrients are washed away to the next level, and students, it don't go to waste. Students, the next one is counter barriers. Counter barriers are strips of plants or rocks which stop downslope flowing water and soil particles. These barriers prevent water erosion and filter out that trap many of the suspended soil particles. Students, some other agriculture practices could be followed also, like counter plogging or the shelter belts. Students, to save conserve land, it is important. So it is up to us that how we could conserve the land, which is really very important for our life. Students, now one more important resource, that is over the land soil is there. Can you tell me what is soil? Students, soil is the loose grainy upper layer of the land surface where the vegetation grows. Students, it consists of a mix of organic material, that is, decayed plants and animals, and broken bits of rocks and minerals. Students, can you tell me how is soil formed? Students, soil takes a very long time to form. In fact, an inch of soil could take up to thousands years to form. Students, you can see soil having layers. The topsoil with organic matter, students, later subsoil, after that weathered parent rock, and at last bedrock or parent rock. Students, what are the factors that affect soil formation? Can you tell me? Students, there are five major factors that affect the formation of soil. Students, first one, the parent rock. Students, this depends on how the rock in the region was formed, either by glaciers, either volcano, etc. Second, the climate, in that precipitation, heat, frost cause weathering, students, which in turn affects the composition of the soil and the humus in it. Students, third, flora, fauna, and microorganisms. The fourth one, landforms. Students, altitude and steepness of the surface affect soil formation. Erosion, which depends on inclination, is an example of it. The fifth and the most important is time. What happened with the time? Students, over time, vegetation and climate act on parent material and landform. This affects the thickness of soil.
Students, can you tell me why is soil important? Students, soil is very important because four reasons are there. First, for the plants. In order to grow, use soil not only for nutrients but also to anchor themselves into the ground using their roots. Students, next one, living organism. As soil is home to many animals, fungi, worms, and bacteria. Students, it is also useful for nutrient cycles. Students, soil plays an important role in cycling those nutrients, including the carbon and nitrogen cycle, which is very much useful for survival of life. Students, last but not the least, soil helps to filter and clean the water that seeps through after precipitation. Students, now you can understand why is soil important.
Students, another resource which is very important for life is water. Students, where is water to be found on the earth? Can you tell me? Students, water covers about 70% of the planet, but unfortunately, most of the water is saline. Earth, the water planet, has very little water that can be used by life forms on land. Students, you can see in this image all water, 97% of water is in oceans. The fresh water is only 3%. In that also 3%, 79% water in the form of glacier and ice caps are there. And again, with remain water, 79% water is grand groundwater. Students, you can understand that why water is very much important for us. Students, now one question would be come to your mind. Why do some places face scarcity of fresh water? Students, water, unlike land, it is a renewable resource. But renewable source doesn't mean that there is additional water coming from other extraneous sources. Water is recycled by a continuous process that includes evaporation, precipitation, and runoff, a process known as the water cycle. Students, the amount of water on earth doesn't vary. It's the same water that the T Rex drank millions of years ago. It means the dinosaurs used that. It will be the same that the future generations will use. Students, some important aspects for scarcity of fresh water. Students, depletion of groundwater, like with our main sources of fresh water, such as rivers and lakes, almost unusable and drying out, we have started exploiting groundwater without giving it time to replenish. With unchecked tapping of this water, it is little wonder that cities like Cape Town, Bengaluru, and Delhi will be among many cities where what groundwater will be exhausted. Another cause of water scarcity is population expansion, or we can say the population growth. Students, better healthcare and lifestyle styles have led to the doubling of the planet's population in just 50 years. By 2050, the population would be more than 8 billion. Students, what does it mean? It means that demand of fresh water for drinking, cleaning, cooking, and sewage has increased multifold as well. Students, this has placed a lot of pressure on the water resources that we have, which, as we have learned, is constant on the planet. Students, one another reason for that scarcity is urbanization. Students, as cities are growing and expanding more than ever before, students, neighboring towns are growing at such a pace that together they are forming megapolises. It means big cities. Students, not all people in cities live in well planned housing colonies. In that manner, as more and more people pour into the cities, makeshift dwellings and shanty towns come up. Students, with the pressure of so many people upon cities that were never meant to hold so many people, there is an increased demand for sewage management, cleaning, construction, and manufacturing.
Students, the other reason it is also affecting other resources like air, land. Students, water, air, and land pollution together contribute to the reduction of water quality. Students, sewage discharges from industries, waste dumping into water bodies, radioactive waste from mining activities, as well as dirty water from sanitation work in industries, mining, residential areas, all end up polluting our waters. Students, also agriculture waste affect water quality. Students, the climate change also a big cause for scarcity of fresh water. Students, how it affect us? It affect our health, hunger, education, and also it causes to increase poverty. Students, we have to use water with very much care. Students, for many people, water is something they take for granted. Students, now what you can do to conserve natural resources? Students, always be aware of the problem. Also, take part with events, organizations, societies that aim to preserve and defend natural resources. Students, you can use resources wisely. Students, I hope you understand all the aspects. Thank you for watching the video.